Social media world was good. I just want to talk about something. This has been on my heart for the past few hours. I want to talk about something that transpired earlier today. I took my son to the playground. My oldest son is 2 years old. I take him to the playground a lot so we can run around and, burn some of that excess energy that he has off him. Right? When he goes to the playground, he's a pretty social kid for the most part. When he sees other kids, he's friendly. Hi, and then he'll run around and want to play with the other kids, which is cool as long as I'm there to supervise it. So same thing today. He sees these two girls. They are on. They're on this thing. I believe it's called a teeter-totter or teeter-tatter, something like that. It has 4 seats. The seats bounce up and down, kind of like a seesaw almost. And in the middle of it, there's like a canvas that you can walk on. You can jump up and down on it. You can dance on it. And the movement that you make on the canvas causes the other 4 seats to bounce up and down. Right. So my son saw these girls playing on this teeter-tatter, and he wanted to join them. He runs up to the teeter-tatter, goes up to one of the girls and says, "Hi." And the girls, they were nice and friendly towards him. "Hi, you want to come play with us?" Okay, cool, no problem. Put my son on one of the seats on the teeter-tatter. All right. So they're playing, they're bouncing up and down. These two girls, they were sisters. The younger sister looked like she was somewhere between the ages of 4 and 6. And the older sister looked like she was somewhere between the age of 7 and 9. And their father was standing close by watching what was going on as well. So they're playing, they're bouncing up and down, right? Everything is cool. About a minute or so passes by, the first red flag goes up for me. These two girls had soda bottles on them, right? So the father asks his younger daughter, the younger sister, goes, "Do you want me to hold your soda for you while you play?" Younger daughter snaps at the father. "No, I don't want you touching my soda." As if she paid for it herself. So that was the first red flag. Second red flag popped up about a minute or so after that. The older daughter, she gets out of a seat. She gets out of a seat on the teeter-tatter. She goes onto the canvas area in the middle, and she starts jumping up and down on the teeter-tatter, causing the other seats to bounce. My son is sitting on one of the seats, obviously. But he's cool. His seat is bouncing, but he's holding on to the handle. He's fine, right? However, the girl's father was like, look, just be careful, try not to jump around too much because you have a baby, a 2-year-old, small child that's on one of the seats. The girl snaps at her father. "You're not the boss of me, Mr. Crazy Man." And this was not some kind of playful jab. This girl meant that with every fiber of her being. So immediately, my fatherly instinct kind of kicks in. Immediately, I wanted to intervene, and I wanted to at least say something to these two girls. Look, it's not cool for you to be talking to your father like that. What's wrong with y'all? But I opted to keep my mouth shut because I did not want to undercut, the father, just in case the father wanted to regulate and say something, or do something, I didn't want to intervene and undercut his authority. Those are his daughters. The father didn't say anything. Basically, he played it cool. Well, I'll just be Mr. Crazy. Okay, so immediately I begin to remove my son from the situation because I refuse to have my children hang around other kids that don't respect their parents. That's not cool. So I begin to remove my son from his seat on the teeter-tatter, and the girls immediately, go back to being nice to my son. "Hey, you want to play hide and seek with us?" I'm like, no, he's not going to play hide and seek. He's going to go over to the sliding board. Took my son to the sliding board. About a minute or so after that, I look over. I see the father trying to escort his daughters out of the playground. He has his older daughter by her hand, and she's fighting and kicking and screaming. "Get off me! I'm not ready to leave yet. Get off me!" As that's going on, I see a security guard walk past them. That's my 2-year-old son in the background hollering. As this is going on, a security guard passes by them and sees what's going on, and he looks, walks past, looks at them, and he kind of had a look of concern, but he didn't want to intervene. Right? Add insult to injury, as the older daughter is trying to fight her way, off of her father. Get off me, get off my hand. I don't want to leave yet. As the older daughter's doing that, the younger daughter had what looked like a plastic bag in her hand, and she's beating on the father's leg. Get off her! Get off her! We don't want to leave yet. Get off her! Nah. They are both literally fighting their father because they want to go back into the playground. As all this is going on, this is in the middle of the afternoon in the summer. So, the playground is pretty populated and crowded. So these other kids see what's going on. Parents who brought their kids out, they see what's going on. And then, in my area, in my area where the playground is, you have benches that surround the outside area of the playground where people sit and just relax. So you have people outside the playground sitting on these benches that are watching what's going on. You have a shopping area that's close to the playground, and you have people walking in and out of the shopping area, and they see what's going on. They see this father being humiliated by his daughters. And the whole time the father's trying to play it cool and, be nice about it and, trying to, keep a cool head, but he was humiliated. He was embarrassed. There are a lot of onlookers, and some of them have looks of disgust, and some of them have looks of, well, is the father going to do anything about this? So, me feeling, pierced, it pierced my heart seeing that. Standing by the sliding board with my son, I'll begin to pray. I'll begin to pray for those two girls, because that kind of behavior is not behavior that you're born with. That kind of behavior is modeled in front of you. That kind of behavior is learned behavior. That's behavior that's been watched and observed, and now it's being acted out. And what those girls don't realize is that by acting like that towards their father, they are literally setting themselves up for their days on earth to be cut short. Right? Honor your mother and your father so that your days on earth might be long, right? I also begin praying for the father, because as a man, quite frankly, waking up every morning knowing that your daughters don't respect you and will treat you like you're the child in public, you don't think that eats away at your self-esteem? You don't think that eats away at your emotional well-being? And I can tell that behavior like that takes place on a regular basis with them, because when we were by the teeter-totter area and those girls snapped at their father the way they did, the father didn't look surprised or shocked at all. So I began to pray for the father as well. And as far as those girls, I want to say this. Shame on whoever is modeling that kind of behavior in front of those girls. Shame on whoever gave those girls the impression that it's okay to act like that towards their father. Because what you're doing is you are setting those girls up for their days to be cut short. Stuff like that plays a big part in the decay of today's society. Behavior like that from those two girls lets me know that they are on the verge of not only ruining their own lives, but potentially ruining other lives along with it. And just to think, in a couple of weeks, those same two girls that are acting like that towards their father, they're going to be sitting in somebody's classroom. And they're going to end up being a teacher's problem. Me personally, as a parent, I would not want my sons to be classmates with those two girls. What man in their right mind would want to marry or even court girls who behave like that? I remember being in the barbershop some years ago, my early teenage years, barbershop back when I had hair, barbershop talk. Barber said to me, look, man, listen, when you choosing a woman, when you choosing a wife or whatever, observe how they treat their father. If they treat their father well, then there's a higher possibility of them treating you well. But if they don't treat their fathers right, if they disrespect their fathers, then chances are they'll have no problem disrespecting you. That kind of came to me as I was watching that whole scene play out. Now, I don't know what goes on behind closed doors in their household. What goes on in their household is what goes on in their household. But I felt led to pray for them. And adults, listen, we owe it to society, we owe it to ourselves, and we owe it to our kids to model the appropriate behavior in front of them and to hold them accountable for their behavior. This is not just parents and guardians or whoever. If you are in charge of children in any capacity, it's your responsibility to hold them accountable for their behavior, but then also model the appropriate behavior in front of them. Don't just tell them that they're in the wrong if you're acting like a fool in front of them. Don't tell them that they're wrong and try to hold them accountable if everything that they see you do is inappropriate. Huh? I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if those girls are in somebody's school, wreaking havoc, interrupting lessons, possibly bullying classmates and things of that nature, talking crazy to their teachers and things of that nature. I wouldn't be surprised if those girls are acting like that towards their teachers and their classmates. And then when their teachers try to hold them accountable for it, somebody in their household is probably ready to fire off and go off on the teachers. I wouldn't be surprised if stuff like that is going on, because it happens all the time. Some of the things that you hear about in the news involving some of the teachers and some of the adults in our schools who, after a while they lose it, and they do something crazy in the school, or, do something to a kid in the school. Oftentimes it's off the heels of behavior like that. Quite frankly, a lot of these children are not as innocent as we make them out to be. And the scenario that played out today only further confirms that. So, I say all that to say this. I just had to get this off my chest. It was in my heart. I say all that to say this, and I'll repeat it one more time. If you are a parent, if you are a guardian, please hold your children accountable and model the appropriate behavior in front of them. All right? Y'all have a good night. I'm going to continue to pray for those girls. I'm going to continue to pray for that father. I'm going to continue to pray for whoever is in that household that has influence over those girls, because that's not cool. I mean, it was horrendous seeing it at, those girls were no older than 10 years old. And it was horrendous and gut-wrenching seeing it on this level. Can you imagine 5-10 years from now, some of the stuff that they can be getting involved in? Can you imagine some of the disrespect that they could be prone to show later on down the line? We need to pray, and we need to do right by our kids. That's all I got to say. Y'all have a good night. Peace.